They told me for years there was no money in podcasting. Well, they were all wrong.
Whose idea was it? I'm assuming it was yours, but how did this idea come about and how did you get started?
Oh man, dude, the idea came when I was about 2 years out of coaching. I had a client roster that was full. I had group coachings going. I had so many ideas. I was just busy. One of my target audiences.
Yeah, say busy. Yeah, so target audience is yourself. That's good. You make content for yourself. That's perfect. Love it.
I think any artist is really, that's their way of communicating to the world how they feel inside.
Yes.
But I eventually, in all that busyness, I ended up coming down with mono for 9 months. And I was just exhausted and sleeping all the time. And then I was always a very creative kid, very creative. I love to make music with my mouth, and I love to write and tell stories, right? I don't know why I said write, like you're supposed to know this. But and then in the middle of that mono, when I was forced to slow down, I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a story idea sitting out there. And I realized that in all the busyness and me chasing the things that I thought were shiny and sounded like a good idea, it was slowing down to let something catch up to me. So I started doing meditation on a daily basis after the mono to purposely slow myself down. And because I created that quiet space in my life, I'm not saying the stories always came through meditation, but I created those open pockets that I'd be out jogging or working out, and all of a sudden a story idea would pop in, and I'd run for a pen and write it down. And then they started coming in. And then again, when I told you that after I wrote the first set of 16 stories, I was, asking people, can I read these two? Like, yeah, just send them over. And when they told me that they wanted to read them instead, I'm like, I can't. They're supposed to be heard. They're supposed to be heard by me. I have no idea what that means. And then so I started literally asking the universe, like, I know these are supposed to be an album. Show me what to do. And I was working at this terrible, terrible job in 2015. It was an awful place that there was about 10 of us there, and our boss never let us talk to each other because time is money and we had to always be doing stuff. So I never got to know the front desk person. A super nice guy that I knew ran some underground film festival in Minneapolis. So one day I just like, to hell with it. Like, I'm on lunch. I just asked him what he does. And I told him what I was looking for, what I wanted to do. And then he put me in touch with the Institute of Production and Recording, a recording studio in downtown Minneapolis. And I talked to the director there, who he would take their 4th-year students. They would give me a discount on the studio just because they were still students, even in their 4th year. But they would create a really, really professional piece. And I just thought, like, okay, that's a good option. And then a couple months later, I had been sending out emails for months. And at the 297th email I sent out, just asking people in the production world, like, is anybody interested in a project like this? If I recorded demos, do you know who you could link me to? I had this guy reach out to me and just said, I'm your guy. And I was like, how do you know that? He's like, I went to the Institute of Production Recording. So again, a sign, like, okay, I'm back to that studio. And he's like, and I've always wanted to work on something like this. He's like, let me do a story for free for you. You tell me what you want the story to sound like, what kind of sound effects and music. I'll create that and let me know what you think. And then it was off and running. Like, he created it. I hired him, and then we started, after we created 4 or 5 demos that I was sending out everywhere. Didn't hear anything back. And I just told him, like, I think you and I have to actually create the actual albums, not demos to send out to places to see if I can get some sort of contract. And here we are, now it's 6 years later. He's still my studio engineer, and he has a recording studio in his home now because of COVID after that.
Yep.
All happened. And so just kind of following the trail of breadcrumbs that life leaves for us if we are open to it and listen to it.
So he's a business part of this studio?
He actually owns the studio. And
what's the name of it? Give it a shout out.
The studio?
Yes.
It's just Christopher Sletto Studios.
I'll get it from you afterwards. I'm going to Google it.
Sure.
I'm going to Google it afterwards for sure. Okay. So that's crazy. That's great. So you have just from the ground floor, you have this guy who has a studio, which is the biggest, most important piece to making an audio series.
Right. And he didn't have one at first. Like, we used the school's studio, and he had access to it because he was a former student that graduated. But then COVID hit. He's like, I just bought the microphone. we got it all set up, and then he's a brilliant musician. Like he does, I would say he did 90% of the music on the first album and probably 60 to 70% on the additional albums. And now I have lots of musicians I work with now to create different sounds, and the different people you bring in, you'll get a different product each story for each album. So, but just hunting down what I was meant to do, and took a long time and a lot of work, but
anything that's great does. So it's not finished, right? I believe you said earlier it's going to be 8 parts.
Yeah, 7 or 8 albums. I'm slowly chipping away at the 4th while really great things have been happening. The 3rd one just came out. It's called Doors and Windows. That just came out on at the end of May, and now I've been doing shows like this, a radio show that I recently did, and right now as we speak, I've got ads on this big radio station in Kansas that are filtering all day for quarter 4 of 2021, which has been exciting. I'm like, somebody could be hearing my voice in my ad right now as we're talking, and so big things are coming. So I've kind of again chipping away at album 4 while I work on marketing and getting these out into the world.
And man, if you want to advertise on podcasts, that'll be my biggest advice to you, because even though you don't do a podcast, your audio series is very similar to a podcast. People who listen to podcasts are damn sure gonna listen to this. I don't want to pay for it because podcasts are free, but
sure,
the audience is there. I do think it's worth paying for personally, because I have listened to I have a few things on SoundCloud. First of all, where can they buy it? Where can they find it? Where can they sample it?
Yeah, so if you go to iTunes, it's not on Apple Music, so you'd have to go into the I think it's just the little purple star on your iPhone. You can go to iTunes and type in the name just Mike James Now, Mike James Everything, or Mike James Doors and Windows. It'll pull up the albums, but on Amazon, it'll pull up all 3 albums. The easiest way to go there is my website is mikejamesnow.com.
Yep.
And it'll have sample stories you could listen to, and then that'll take you right to Amazon you can either buy the physical copy, like I forget, still have old school CDs.
Classic.
Yep. Because I personally want to hold at least one in my hand, but I'm finding, that certain people still love to have the physical product. And of course the MP3, the downloadable versions of the albums. But just go to mikejamesnow.com. That's the easiest way to get them.
I highly recommend everyone go at least listen to 1 or 2 of them, because they are very interesting. They're all very different. You're not going to know what you're going to get, like a box of chocolates. But I want to break it down album by album.